Good morning, Oracles! Well, this weekend I had noticed quite a few things going on as I was driving around, and it all pertains to Tesla and the EV adoption rate going on here in the US, at least as far as what I can see. Now, in the past I had made a video speaking about the progression of how the entire world is going to be transitioning over to EVs and renewable energy. And one of the pieces of that puzzle was just in paying attention to little signs. And little signs like gas stations starting to go out of business, or gas stations starting to put up more EV charging stations. Well, on our ride down to the beach, I had noticed that there were quite a few gas stations that were going out of business. Now, it happens to be around where I work, and because of the business that I'm in, which is construction retail, I know what jobs are getting supplied by us in those areas. There are a couple of new gas stations that are going up that we did pass along the way. So while some are going out of business, there are still new ones that are popping up. However, the new ones that are popping up have, guess what? Those charging stations. The old ones did not. So this transition is actually happening 3 years earlier than what I had anticipated. I thought we would start seeing this around 2025 or 2026. Well, we're already starting to see that now. And we're already seeing the numbers coming out of the US with EV adoption rates bumping up faster than expected. And now I know many of you are from around the world, so let me know about your areas and if you have seen any of this going on in your areas as well. And I know us here in the US, we complain about our high gas prices, but I know full well I have been to different places in the world where I thought the gas prices looked lower, and then I realized that you guys calculate it by the liter, whereas we do it by the gallon, and you're paying significantly more than we do for gas. So places like Norway, who have gone over to 90% EVs, are definitely going to be feeling that. And I remember when I was driving around Norway, there were a lot of charging stations everywhere, and that was 3 years ago, so I have no doubt that they are significantly further along in that progress now. So let me know about your areas and where you're from, if you have seen more and more charging stations popping up, and maybe gas stations converting over, adding charging stations, or some gas stations going out of business and new ones popping up with EV charging stations at them. And now, speaking about gas, President Biden was over in Saudi Arabia, and just as we had expected, he was speaking with the Saudis, and they spoke about releasing more oil for supply, and sure enough, sounds like they have come to that agreement. So let's see how we are going to see the oil prices go this week. So now, last week we did see oil prices coming down significantly. That could have been in anticipation of the fact that the Saudis were going to most likely be releasing more oil. At the end of the week, they did bump up a little bit more when it comes to the oil prices. But let's see what happens this week, because again, we want to bring these oil prices down. We've been speaking about it quite a bit on here, about how we need to bring the oil prices down, bring down commodity prices, because as the Fed said, they can only do so much when it comes to inflation. They can take care of the core amount of inflation, but when it comes to oil and commodity prices, there's not so much that they can do. And while oil is not included in the core CPI data, oil does affect shipping costs, and guess what? Shipping costs affect everyone, even those who are in the core data. So it's very important to pay attention to oil, because as that comes down, costs of business for everyone are going to come down, and this is why it's so important to get away from oil dependence. Now, for me, I am very much on board with switching the world over to renewable energy, but I'm not one of the ones who's out there saying we need to get rid of oil altogether. That's impossible. Oil is used in so many other things around the world. I mean, heck, again, in my business, we are in construction, and paving roads requires oil to be used. So oil is still going to be used. It's a matter of pulling ourselves away from the dependence on oil. That to me is the big piece. Think about, Germany right now is struggling with energy costs and energy issues because they're trying to pull away from Russian oil dependence. So trying to separate all of that out is what the future is about for me when it comes to switching over to sustainable renewable energy. Because don't forget, when you switch over to solar and wind power and you've got battery backups, it's a lot more versatile. And even if you are dependent on that, it usually can be a very independent system where you may have to depend on your individual system, but if your individual system goes down, the whole network out there can work together. There's a long way to go in improving all of that. We know that some areas are still running off of coal. The electrical grid is still a dirty grid to work by, but it can be improved, and that is what we are aiming for, is to improve the entire grid. And so looking at Tesla in particular, obviously this was their mission statement. This is what they are striving for, is to change over that entire grid. So when we start looking at competition coming and people are like, oh, well, competition is on the way, you gotta watch out. I'm going to agree that competition is coming, but I'm also going to say that competition coming for the next 3 to 5 years is good, because it's going to reinforce the transition over to sustainable renewable energy. Now, when it comes to that, what other competition out there is working on other sustainable energy sources? None of them. Tesla is the only one. So when we get to that point where most of the automotive makers have transitioned over to EVs, they're going to need to be powered by something, and guess what? Tesla is going to be providing that for them. Now, if they do not end up coming up with their own FSD, which we can debate that later, but if they don't end up doing that, Tesla has already said that they would outsource and license their FSD to them as well. So yes, while competition may be coming in the EV space, when it comes down to all the other pieces and components that go along with it, Tesla could actually supply competition with what they need to enable their EV business. Now, I'm also not saying that Tesla is going to be dominating the entire energy market as well. There's a lot of other players that are going to be out there in that field as well. So they'll have totally separate competition when it comes to the energy space. But when it comes to the automotive makers, none of them, at least as of right now, unless they have something planned that we don't know about, none of them are going to be competing against Tesla in the energy space. And now, looking at the ramping up of all of these companies, the Chinese automotive makers are ahead of most everyone else, including Legacy Auto. So now let's take a look at how long it took Tesla to get themselves to just about 1 million EVs sold in a year. It took them about 10 to 12 years to get to that point. Now let's assume that Legacy Auto and all of these startups have learned from some of Tesla's mistakes, have been able to speed up their progress just because of everything Tesla has done and laid the groundwork for them. So even if you speed it up by 70%, that means that it's still going to take competition 3 years to ramp themselves up to get to 1 million vehicles delivered in a single year. So if that's going to be in 3 years' time, let's say they started in 2021 to be very generous, that means that by 2024, we are going to be seeing competition pushing out 1 million EVs in a single year. Now, by 2024, Tesla will most likely be putting out 3 to 4 million vehicles in that year based upon their 50% year-over-year growth. So that's still 4 times ahead of the competition. So again, we have spoken about it as well. When it comes down to it, it's really who can produce the most. Whoever can produce the most as we transition over to EVs, that is the company who is going to win. Well, Tesla producing 4 times as much as the competition means that yes, they are going to be losing EV market share, but seeing as the entire world is going to be transitioning from ICE to EVs, the EV market is going to be the automotive market. So yes, Tesla will be losing EV market share, but they will significantly gain on the automotive industry and in the entire automotive market. And if by 2026, EV adoption is up to 40%, and we sell 80 million vehicles total worldwide in 2026, that's 32 million EVs that are going to be sold. And if you continue to track Tesla's 50% year-over-year growth, in 2026, Tesla will be delivering 7 million vehicles. So that would be about 25% of the entire EV market, but that would also mean nearly 10% of the entire automotive market. And then if Tesla does have 7 million of the 32 million in 2026, that still leaves 25 million EVs available for competition to pick up. So for those of you who are saying that competition is coming, there's plenty of room for both. Tesla can have 7 million EVs delivered in 2026, and competition can still be coming in. And if you are not happy with Tesla delivering 7 million vehicles in 1 year by 2026, then I don't know what's going to make you happy, because right now, with VW and Toyota, they're around 10 million vehicles to lead the way. And if those two manage to hang on to that lead of that amount of vehicles delivered by then Tesla would be in third place out of all automotive makers if we continue the path and trend that we are on right now. But I have a strong feeling that by that point, we are going to see a significantly different landscape when it comes to the automotive market. And clearly at that point, we are going to have a massive need for renewable, sustainable energy and a much better grid to be able to handle all of that. And that is when I'm saying that Tesla's S-curve for energy is really going to start taking off. And you think about the EVs and when they started with those, it took them almost 10 years to get profitable in that side of the business. And right around the same time that Tesla started becoming profitable with the EV side of their business, that's when the rest of the automotive industry started to converge and come on board and really change over their vehicles over to EVs as well. So now we're going to start seeing this happen with energy. And as all of these companies start pushing out EVs, there's going to be that need for energy. And as soon as that comes out, that is when Tesla is going to start being profitable on the energy side of their business. We are seeing massive amounts of megapacks getting pushed out of Nevada right now. So they are laying the foundation for this. It's kind of silent and subtle. There's so much other stuff that is going on with Tesla right now between Twitter and production woes going on over in Shanghai, slower than expected ramps. There's a very large amount of bearish news that is out in the market right now when it comes to Tesla. That stuff on the energy side of things really isn't spoken about or seen unless you're within the community. And if you guys are over on Twitter, I'm there at OracleTim1. There's a lot of great information that is coming out about the fundamentals of Tesla. And I know Big Tesla had just put up a post about who people follow and what they do over there. There's all different reasons why you follow people. And I gotta say, this community is absolutely amazing. So for me, I usually go to Tesla Daily. Rob Maurer gives some of the best information for me on YouTube. So I follow him, I follow Dave Lee. I do follow Stephen Mark Ryan when I need that bull push. And then over on Twitter, Sawyer Merritt is outstanding when it comes to the news. He's one of the top ones over there. And I do like to follow Gary Black because Gary Black over there, he gives the analyst's perspective, but it's a very grounded, bull approach to seeing Tesla. So I like his approach and his view there. And then obviously A Tesla Bot and Troy Teslike, I follow for production and delivery numbers. So if you're looking for some good information, just to find out factually what's going on, I try to take all of that information from all of them and put it all together. And I obviously do my own due diligence and research on different areas and have a lot of little other sources that I go to. But this is where I kind of culminate it all together to get all the facts that I need. And that's why for me, emotionally, I could take my emotions out because I know the facts of what is going on. I see these little tiny signs of gas stations starting to go out of business, gas stations putting up EV charging stations, giant lots of megapacks getting pumped out of Nevada that really nobody talks a lot about. All of these little underlying things are just those little ticks in my head that are like, these are the signs I need to see exactly where we are going down the road. Little dots that I can follow on the path that show me how I can get myself to be a TESLANAIRE. And of course, one of the things that you need to have in order to become a TESLANAIRE is the conviction that the company is going to take us down this path. So that's why I'm constantly following all of these little signs and finding all the different news that I can to give me the information. And I want to see both sides. I do like to see both sides of things. I do follow Gordon Johnson as well, despite the fact that some of his news is very lopsided. He does make some good points about things. And I like to see that because despite the fact that some of the stuff isn't true fact that comes out from the bears, that is a sentiment side of things. And having a strong sentiment on that side does weigh on the stock. So inevitably in the long run, the facts and the truth will end up winning the day, but in the near term, it can definitely weigh on the stock, and that's where I try to find things like that and then come on here and make sure I can debunk some of that or say, hey, you know what? That bearish news was actually true and something that we need to pay attention to. Let me know in the comments below, how quickly do you think the world is going to get transitioned over to EVs and renewable energy? Do you think it's going to be 40% by 2026? Do you think it's going to happen sooner or later than that? And when that happens, do you think Tesla is going to be primed and ready to be able to take on the world's needs for renewable, sustainable energy? Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate all of your support and feedback. If you have not subscribed, please do so down below. Sign yourself up for notifications. I am over on Twitter at OracleTim1. I share all of the latest Tesla news, pertinent stock market information, and all of my daily trades. We do have a Discord chat, that link is down in the description. And if you'd like to support the channel any further, I do have a Patreon, that link is also in the description. And thank you so much to all the patrons that are over there, and thank you all so much again for watching. We will see you later.